Well, you zoom back to your room. I'm gonna be right here watching this Zoom.
Hi, Mary. Can you mute?
The volume.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So today we are so blessed to have Cheryl with us. Oh, now I'm hearing myself echo. Okay. I'm just going to turn myself down then, I guess. So Cheryl and I have known each other for quite some time. I told her that I was going to do this, so I'm going to go ahead and share with you a couple of photos. So I have known Cheryl for a number of years, and the reason I wanted to share these photos with you guys today is because Cheryl was a part of my very first step into leadership. So this picture, I won't tell you how old it is, but I'm sure you can tell based on the hairstyles. This would be, let's see, back row. Second from the left is me, and third from the left would be Cheryl. So we were both state officers together for an organization called the Wisconsin Marketing and Management Association. So like I said, we've known each other for a very long time. She is a very dear friend, and I'm just going to read you a little bit about her before we go ahead and get started. So Cheryl Killilea is a trauma-informed yoga instructor, certified personal trainer, wellness coach, and dedicated mother of two. At her studio in Onalaska, Changing Lanes Fitness and Nutrition, she works with women to help them transform physically and emotionally and live to their fullest potential. Cheryl demonstrates that regardless of past experiences, you can improve your overall wellness, move forward, and live a life full of purpose while helping others in the process. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Cheryl now. We are very excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Becky. Yes, we definitely go way back. And I don't know, I think we both look younger and healthier today than we did in that picture. So, you know, right?
I would agree with that.
Aging like fine wine, right? So
that's right.
So I'm not super technical, but I do have a PowerPoint. So I'm assuming you can give me sharing capabilities here, Becky?
You should be able to share.
All right. Oh, yep, there it goes. Okay. All right. All right, so everybody should be able to see my screen. Again, technology is really not my forte, but I'm so excited to be here. I've presented this a couple of times in the last year, and I feel just now more than ever, especially as we're coming, out of COVID, this topic is just so important for us. And so as we kind of get started with things, we're going to talk a little bit about wellness and what that means. And so oftentimes when I, say to clients or friends, family, what does wellness mean to you? I often hear it means diet, it means exercise, it means sleep. Sometimes if the conversation gets a little more evolved, I might hear it's your mental health, it's how you take care of yourself, and some different things like that. But almost always I hear the physical piece, the diet and the exercise. And so these are some, just need to move this little box. There we go. These are some definitions of wellness. If you were to Google wellness, quality or state of healthy in body and mind, active pursuit of activities, choices, and lifestyles. I like the bottom one. It's an active process through which people become aware of, make choices towards a more successful existence. So again, a lot of different variations of wellness. What I want to talk to you today about is 5 puzzle pieces that I believe truly make up our wellness. Now, again, if you were to Google this, you might come up with 7 or 8. I've kind of looped some together that I feel kind of make the most sense. And so the ones that we will be covering today are here on the screen, and I liken them to our puzzle pieces. The reason is because they kind of all fit together, and I will take us through the 5 dimensions. And just please know, your puzzle is going to look different than my puzzle, than your neighbor's puzzle, than your coworker's puzzle. The tricky part about our puzzle pieces and our wellness is, when you do a puzzle, you have that picture to look at, that beautiful sunset or that cute puppy. With our wellness, we don't necessarily have that picture to look at, to reference, right? And that's oftentimes where we maybe fall in to some difficulty, right? Because maybe 1 or 2 or more of our puzzle pieces are non-existent. They're not showing up. And so what I hope today to do is talk a little bit about how we can maybe bring some balance to those puzzle pieces. So we'll take you through each one of those and some suggestions or some things to look at in the different dimensions. And then I will kind of take you through my story and what some of the different dimensions look like for me, and how through my life it's really ebbed and flowed, and the attention that I put towards the different elements has really changed over the years. So we're going to start with our physical wellness. And again, this is one that I say is, again, the most popular. So the physical wellness is about taking care of our bodies so that it can function properly and optimally. Our physical wellness does include our things like activity and nutrition. I like to call activity, specifically with my clients, intentional movement. So intentional movement, that can be taking the dog for a walk. That could be getting out and doing some yard work. I don't know that I necessarily call intentional movement house cleaning, but if you're down on the floor scrubbing your floors, that could be very intentional movement. Perhaps it's setting a new goal, like a race or 5K or a bike ride across your state or something like that. Physical wellness also includes our routine exams, whether that's your dental checkups, your mammograms, your yearly physical. I think for many of us, and I'm really pretty good about getting in the daily exercise and movement and watching my nutrition, but I can say I'm not really the best when it comes to taking care of myself in a medical standpoint, but that's included in our overall wellness. Along with sleep, hydration, fruits and vegetables, those are all components. Many times when I see my clients in the studio and they're like, oh, I don't feel as strong today. For me, I usually say it's a couple of different things. It's how's your sleep? How's your hydration? How's your nutrition? And how's your stress? Usually 1 or more of those things is going to be off. That's going to cause someone to maybe not feel at their physical best, whether that's lifting the weights or just feeling, tired or sort of lacking in energy. So I say this physical wellness, important for us to make effort, concentrated effort towards this. And for me, I like to get that intentional movement in the morning. And I recommend that to my clients. And the biggest reason I do is because not a lot can come up for us at 5 or 6 a.m. versus 5 or 6 p.m. we can have, whether it be customers or clients, our kids or families. The only thing the 5 or 6 a.m. I guess can get in the way is needing that sleep component, which is important too. Our next piece of social wellness is our relationships. And I love, Becky and I were just talking a little bit about this group, the organization, before everybody joined. And I just said, I think that that's so amazing that you have the ability to network, and especially within those that are in the same field, because you can share wins, you can share same struggles and maybe get some advice. And it's making me think about how I want to get involved in some sort of networking group for fitness professionals, and we could be support to each other. And so the social wellness is important. And I think that was one of the things that I noticed during COVID that was really challenging for us. And I say, for all the bad news that social media gets, thank God for Facebook and social media, because that was the only way we were able to stay connected really during this last year with quarantining and things like that. And so social wellness is really important, whether it's clubs and networking, efforts to make new friends, which I don't know about you, but I think it gets harder as we get older, especially, I have a senior that's graduating, and I'm an empty nester this fall, and that's how I would make friends, is with my kids' friends' parents, and now I don't have that anymore. But important to schedule time with our family and friends, and book clubs. Becky mentions that you guys do a book club as well, which I think is great. It's on my list to join a book club this fall. And active listening and just nurturing those friendships, right? So important for us, that social wellness piece. Emotional wellness, which is also referred to as our mental wellness, ability to understand and accept ourselves, ability to cope, and just deal with challenges and obstacles of life. I could say in talking to my clients that this last year, emotional wellness was hit very hard. I'm sure many of you felt that, if not you personally, maybe friends or family, clients, coworkers. This last year was tough, I think, on many of us. And some of the ways that we can bring some balance to that emotional wellness is trying to keep that positive attitude. And, when I have people say to me sometimes, oh, you're so positive about things. And I just say, well, here's the deal. I have negative thoughts too. I do. We all do, right? And we can choose to sit in that negative shit, if you will, or we can choose to accept it and then just move on from it, right? And I'm not saying that we have to have this Pollyanna type of attitude where we're always walk around with this positive frame of reference. But I can definitely tell you, when we turn that mindset around, it really can make all the difference when we just accept that, bad or negative things are going to happen, but how can we maybe find some learning from it, or just accepting that bad things are, certainly going to happen at times. And I think that comes with accepting our emotions, being mindful about things, getting good quality sleep. I think that this last year, if nothing else, taught me how really important sleep is. And I love naps, right? Who doesn't love naps? I would also say counseling. I think the best investment we can make is counseling or therapy. And I think everybody can benefit from that at some point in time in their life. And then smiling and laughing, which I don't know how things are in the rest of the country. I'm in Wisconsin, and here masks are, we don't have masks anymore. And the best part for me is I can see people smiling and laughing again. I really, truly missed that. And so, so glad that is back. And prayer. I think that there's some power in prayer, and I'll get a little bit more into that when I talk a little bit about spiritual wellness. Occupational wellness. This refers to our ability to just feel fulfilled in our jobs and our chosen career paths, being involved in work that really allows us to be our best self. For those of us that work full time, we spend a lot of time at our workplace. And I don't know about you, but I really need something that fulfills me. Do I get frustrated? Do I have days where I'm like, oh my gosh, entrepreneur life is not for me anymore? Absolutely. And I'm sure that many of you may feel the same way. But I will say the positives and the good days definitely far outweigh the bad. I think ways to really focus on your occupational wellness is industry conventions and conferences. And I think this year, maybe, towards fall, are maybe starting to happen again. Previously maybe held more in a virtual, but I think you can still be connected there. I often have women come to me and say, you know, I really just, I'm unfulfilled in my job. I don't really like it, but I have bills to pay, right? And so I encourage them, well, what would you do if money was no object? Like, what is that thing that you always think about? Is there a way you can make money doing that? I call that a side hustle. And how can we start kind of putting some energy there? And maybe at some point that could turn into a part-time or a full-time gig for you. I also think it's important to take time off. I know when I was in corporate America, which was about over 10 years ago, I thought it was a badge of honor to have all this like PTO time and vacation time. And now I'm like, Cheryl, you dummy, why didn't you use that? Why didn't you take advantage of getting paid time off, right? And now I'm an entrepreneur. And so now when I'm not in my studio, I'm not getting paid, but I realize the value in taking that time off. And your company is going to get a much better employee out of you by you taking that time off. And I can tell you that I have boundaries on the other side there. And as I really work with many of my clients from a wellness coaching perspective, I tell them, your company is going to, they're going to work you, right? And maybe many times your boss or coworkers won't have those boundaries and you taking time off or things like that. And that's where we really need to set our own boundaries and making sure that we are taking that time off to sort of fill our bucket back up. And last one being our spiritual wellness. Now, this can be related to a lot of different things when it comes to spiritual focus. I'm a Christian, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But I respect all areas of spiritual wellness, whether you choose to use the term God or Jesus, or you use Buddha or the universe. I'm accepting and loving of anyone and any of their spiritual beliefs. And so this is really just having a belief in something greater than yourselves and your morals, your values, principles. They guide you, right? Something bigger than yourself is what's guiding you. And so a lot of ways that you can kind of manage your spiritual wellness, whether that's joining a church or a Bible study, again, in person or online. I think forgiveness and acceptance really fall into our spiritual place, along with prayer, meditation. I use a great app that's called Abide, ABIDE, and I'm not a spokesperson for them at all. I use the free version, but every morning, it's about 2 to 5 minutes long. They have a guided meditation. I often listen to it before I even get out of bed in the morning. It just sort of sets me in the right frame of mind. And so I love just that little app. And then I also have a daily devotion that I use in the morning that is just a short little quick read. And sometimes it resonates and sometimes I'm like, no, it wasn't for me today. So, but I include all of that into kind of that spiritual wellness component. So now I want to take it back a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about my own journey and how I've kind of just worked through some things, and it's really been an ebb and flow for me. And I'll tell you, at different times in my life, I've put more focus into different areas. And sometimes one of those 5 dimensions is not even showing up. And I work really hard to try to keep my wellness dimensions sort of in check, if you will. And so I'm going to start with the physical piece. So many times people think because I'm a personal trainer and have my own studio that this is super easy for me. The exercise or the movement is pretty easy. I have a set routine. I am at the gym in the morning typically by 7 a.m., maybe a little later on the weekends. I'm out for a walk, I bike, I yoga. That part is pretty easy for me. But I will tell you, the nutrition piece is an area that I still struggle with. And I have ever since I was in my preteens. You see, my parents got divorced. when I was 12, and I grew up in Chicago, nice upper middle class family. Sadly, my dad was pretty abusive, alcoholic. And when my parents got divorced, my mom moved us to a little bitty town in Wisconsin. We were very low income. I turned to food as a comfort. And when the food wasn't enough, I turned to alcohol. And I continued to battle both food and alcohol for a number of years. I am proud to say that I have been sober for a little over 5 years now. I quit drinking in, thank you. I quit drinking in March, it was 5 years. And I can honestly tell you though, that I never really struggled with it up until this past year during COVID. And I can honestly say that I found myself more times than I would like to admit, standing in the liquor department, thinking about alcohol, thinking about just one glass. But it was a slippery slope for me. And I knew that I couldn't do one glass. I knew it would be the bottle, if not more than one bottle. I'm not sure what got me through other than my own strength and resilience, and of course, the power of prayer for me. I do still struggle with the nutrition piece, and I do try to find a balance. I have 3 pictures up here, and the far left picture is from a bikini competition I competed in 2 years ago. I would like to say that I was the picture of health and wellness there, but I was on a pretty low calorie diet, low carbs. I was at the gym for probably 3+ hours a day. Will I do another competition? I'm not sure. I loved it, but there was a lot of sacrifice that went into it. The picture right next to it was the fall of 2019, before COVID, but I was going through a really difficult time in my family and marriage that I'll get to. And I was at a pretty low point. I was unhappy with myself and I was unhappy with life. And then the picture on the right is one of my favorites. It was taken just last November, actually. It was a beautiful day. We had unexpected 70-degree weather in Wisconsin. So I took myself, I played hooky from work, and I went to Devil's Lake State Park, which is just outside of Madison, if you're familiar with Wisconsin at all. And I discovered my love of hiking last summer, and that's been just a big part of my physical journey. My social transformation. I would definitely say right now in the season of life I'm in, the social is probably the hardest part for me. I would say even without the season I'm in, the social is the hardest part for me. I'm social with my family, which includes my daughter and my son-in-law and my new grandbaby and my son, and that's who I have in the pictures here. On the far left is from Christmas when my daughter came to visit. My daughter actually moved to St. Louis almost 2 years ago. And down on the bottom is my sweet granddaughter who was born on April 4th, Mira May. And up in the corner is my son, Isaac, who is a high school senior and going to be graduating this Friday. These people are my people, my family. But it's been hard for me outside of my kids to really, I guess, be vulnerable and make those friendships. Because part of growing up with a father who was alcoholic and abusive was I didn't have friends come over. And my dad always told us, you can never depend on other people. The only person you can depend on is yourself. And those words, even though spoken so many years ago, they still resonate with me, and I still hear them from time to time. But one of the things that I found, a couple of things that I found, is that when I open up about my struggles, which is why I now do this, It really allows other women to be able to be vulnerable and share their story. I don't share my story because I want people to feel sorry for me or think that I had such a hard life. I share my story because I want women to know they're not alone, and that no matter where you come from or how you grew up, you can change. You can have a different today and a different tomorrow. And so can your children and or your grandchildren. And I also learned that we don't heal in isolation. We heal in community, and being surrounded with friends, family, clients, coworkers. We are social beings. That's how God made us. So this is a work in progress for Cheryl. And I say I get better every day. Emotional healing. This too is something that I'm still struggling with. And I think it's also part of the vulnerability. If you haven't done any reading of Brené Brown, I highly recommend it. She talks a lot about vulnerability. Emotional healing for so many of us, especially if you grew up in any type of abusive or alcoholic home or have dealt with that yourself. This is an ongoing process. You're probably thinking, wow, those are some interesting pictures, Cheryl. Yes, they are. This ties in with the spirituality piece as well, but the anchor. So I was going through a rough spot back in the fall of 2019 that I will address, I promise. And in my daily devotions that I was reading, Hebrews 6:19 came up in this daily devotions book. It was my verse, my Bible verse for the day. And I hadn't heard it before. And so I thought, wow, I really like that. And then I was reading a book by Lisa Turkhurst, which is a Christian author. And she quoted, this was like the next day, and she quoted the Hebrews 6:19. I was like, okay, I'm listening, I hear it, right? And then a couple days go by and I'm at the grocery store. And you know, those gumball machines, I don't know how old everybody is on here, but I used to love them when I was a kid, and I would go with my mom to the grocery store and you need a quarter or two to put in. Well, back in the day, it was a quarter. Now it's 2 quarters. And you get the little gumball or whatever the prize. Well, of course, my mom never let us do it because she's like, that's just junk and waste of money. And yeah, it was, right? But for whatever reason, I was at the grocery store at Woodman's and I was like called to put money in the gumball machine. Well, I was like, I don't know, I'm digging in my purse. I can't find 2 quarters. And my husband doesn't have 2 quarters. Finally, I stick my hand in my coat pocket and I find 2 quarters. It was meant to be. And so that bulldog on the anchor is the temporary tattoo that I pulled out of the gumball machine that day. This verse, Hebrews 6:19, I believe was a sign from God that I needed to put my faith, trust, and really anchor down in Him. I was at a low point, such a low point in my life and in my marriage. And I clung to that verse and I clung to that temporary tattoo for months. And on the far picture, you can see that's some artwork that I had done. I know tattoos aren't for everybody, but they are for me as just a remembrance. And so I have that on my left arm. And when I feel like I'm sinking, I look to that tattoo as what I can get through, how I can really anchor down in my faith and in my trust in God and what's to come. And the lotus flower is my yoga journey throughout the way. And if you know anything about the lotus flower and how it blooms, It's in the murky, dark waters, but is this beautiful flower that rises from it. The occupational wellness. I'm happy to say that this part I'm rocking, especially coming through COVID. I survived a pandemic, and I'm a small business. I'm a one-woman show. I mean, I do the training plans, I teach the classes, I train my clients, I clean the floors, I scrub the toilets, I do the accounting and the invoicing. I'm really a one-woman show. And so the fact that I survived COVID and came out ahead, I made a profit last year. I might not be a lot of things, but I'm a smart businesswoman, and I know how to run a business. And I believe my marketing, my business degree, and my time with the organization that Becky mentioned we were in a part of was very helpful to that. And so, but I didn't discover this career until I was 40, and I was laid off from my corporate career. I was in corporate America for 15 plus years in a sales role. I did some medical software sales, a variety of different things, sold copiers. That was my first job. But I always had this deep passion that I was meant to do more. I've always had this sort of entrepreneur spirit inside of me. And I got let go from my company at the age of 40. And I really thought that, wow, this is the most horrible thing that could happen to me. And it was not. It was actually the best thing that could happen to me. I grinded my ass off at the YMCA for 5 years and made less money than I had made since I was in my 20s. I made more money selling copiers than I did when I was at the YMCA. But I knew I was on the right path. And I knew that if I was just patient enough, I would get to a place where I could make a difference. And I've been in my studio now for, it'll be 4 years coming up this year. And I don't know what the future holds for me there. I love what I do, but that granddaughter's pulling on my heart. So might I land myself in St. Louis or somewhere close by there next year? I don't know. I don't know what God has in plan for me, but I just keep trying to listen to the calls. And for now, I'll just keep living my passion and feel so blessed with so much gratitude that I get to do that every day. So just please know, if you're not where you want to be, you have the power to change that. And there's a lot of people that will help you along the way. And this one, my faith. So this is a big one for me. And I actually asked Becky because I never want somebody to think that because I'm a Christian, I would look down on them for not going to church or not being a Christian or not praying or not believing in God. My son doesn't believe in God, and I'm okay with that. And I respect him, but he knows that I got a heart for Jesus, and I'll sing the praises of Jesus all day long. But I wasn't always a Christian. This picture on the screen, I was baptized in the fall of 2019. And I'll tell you, and I grew up there was no church in my house at all. We didn't even go to church on like Christmas and Easter. And I was kind of jealous of my friends that did. I thought, what's this church business? I want to know God. But you know what I thought? I was too messed up and I was too broken. God would never love somebody like me. Until I found myself on my knees in the behavioral health unit of our local hospital. I was with my daughter. My daughter, who today looks like she has an amazing life. She's 29. She has a great husband. She just got a brand new job at the St. Louis County Health Department. She has a beautiful baby. But what most people don't know is my daughter struggled with depression and her mental health for the better part of 15 years. And that day in the hospital with her, we were there for another suicide attempt. And I honestly thought I was going to lose my daughter. This was before I was a Christian. And I sort of believed in God, but again, I didn't think that God cared about people like me. But that day in the hospital with my daughter, I had no strength left. I had run out of resources. I made it through a lot. I grew up with an alcoholic, abusive dad. My daughter's biological father was the same thing. I endured years of abuse. And I got through that. But I realized I couldn't save my daughter. And so I literally dropped to my knees and I prayed. I asked him to save my daughter, and I would do whatever he called me to do. I would listen, I would obey, I would surrender. I would try to just be a good person. And I like to say that my business is because of those prayers. But I know for a fact that my daughter not only survived, but she is thriving today. And her relationship with God and her faith is something that I'm inspired by every single day. I still struggled for about a year with my faith until I finally surrendered to the Lord. Because after all, I had made him that promise and he kept his side of the bargain. So I felt that I needed to keep up mine. I was baptized. After my baptism, I thought, yes, okay, I'm baptized now, I'm a Christian, life's gonna be good, this is awesome. However, what I didn't realize is just because you're baptized, you believe in God, you have a deep faith, doesn't mean the walk is going to be easy. You see, what I now know, almost 2 years later after my baptism, is that God was preparing me for my biggest battle of all. Yes, COVID was coming up soon. But my marriage, shortly after this picture, my marriage started to struggle. The anchor was a sign. And then in April of 2020, in the midst of our global pandemic, my husband of 18 years asked for a divorce. I was angry. I was pissed off at God. I felt like he let me down. Where was he? Why my marriage? Why my family? This was not fair. This was not what I signed up for. Until I quickly realized that just because I now have a faith in a higher power, I was baptized, doesn't mean life is going to be easy. It doesn't mean bad things aren't going to happen to us. But God will be there and he will walk with us. And so I stopped questioning most of the time, and I tried to trust the process. I wanted to stay in bed and pull the covers over my head and just think that this was a bad dream. But that promise that I made God, I had clients that were struggling big time. I was the only person many of my clients would see in one day, in a week, in a month because of COVID. They needed me to show up and be there for their physical and emotional mental health. I had a son who was 17. He's now homeschooling his junior year. His whole world has changed. He needed me to show up for him. I had an obligation as his mom. So I focused on what I can control. I prayed a lot. I cried daily. I still cry daily. Some days I'm really positive, and some days I get stuck in my head. But I always try to bring it back to God. A friend told me once that life is hard, but it's even more challenging without a faith in a higher power. And again, whatever that looks like for you. I can honestly say, if it weren't for my faith, I'm not sure I can definitely say, if it wasn't for my faith, I would not be here presenting to you today. It has gotten me through this storm. And I don't know what the future holds, but I do know my faith will carry me through, and I'm proud of that. Now, I would like to leave you with some action steps, some ways that you can connect your puzzle pieces together. And please just remember, it's going to look different than mine. We're going to talk about the 4 Ds: discover, dream, design, and deliver. And so discover, the first wellness piece, is basically to ask yourself some questions. Why is wellness important to you? What is it about caring for your mind, body, and spirit that brought you here today? Why did you tune in? Why did you give up an hour of your time? You had nothing else to do? Well, maybe, but I feel like it's deeper than that. There's one area that maybe you're struggling in more than the other. Where do you need to focus? I know what's pretty routine for me, but I can even tell you the spiritual part, I've been feeling off the last couple of weeks because I've got a boy graduating and I've got to clean and sell my house. And then my daughter with this new baby. And so overwhelmed is like an understatement for me. And my prayer and Bible time has went out the window. My church time has went out the window. And I felt it and I need to get it back. And so now, when I'm listening, I listen to some podcasts, Christian podcasts on a walk. So I get in my physical and I get in my spiritual, right? Dream. I love the dream part, right? We can sit back and recall a time when we felt most proud of our wellness, where maybe we were most alive and fully motivated. Maybe we were working towards our first 5K. Or maybe we were really actively engaged within a Bible study group, or we were really meeting our friends and family and making sure we stayed connected. Whatever this what is for you, maybe recalling a time when you were there and how can you get that back? Reflecting on what that looked like. Some practices, routines, prioritizing. For me, if I do not get to the gym in the morning, it's not happening. I can tell myself I'll go at 2 o'clock. No, I'm not. I might go for a walk and that's good, right? That I will count that as movement, but for me, it's weight training in the gym. That is part of my routine. That is when Cheryl feels her very best. I know that about myself. It's routine now, it's habit. Design. What areas of your wellness are a priority at this point? That's not saying that you only take, say, your emotional and your physical wellness, and those are the 2 that you focus on, and you ignore the occupational, the spiritual, and the social. But maybe those aren't your biggest priority. As I mentioned, the social is not my priority right now, other than my kids. But I know I'm going to be an empty nester come September when my son goes to school. Did I mention he's going to Boston? Yes, one of my children in Boston, the other in St. Louis. So I know that I'm going to be spending more time social. And so I'm not ignoring friendships right now because I don't want people to be like, well, you disappeared for 4 months and what, now you want to hang out? But I'm just letting my friends and family know that, oh, I really want to stay engaged with you, but maybe it's through some quick texts or it's a short, walking coffee date or something like that. But I will have more time for you come September. Deliver. Now, this is the area where I find most people, we don't take action. So my challenge to you, I want you to take action. One thing, just one thing you can do today, next 24 hours, that will have the greatest impact on your wellness. And what does that look like for you? Have you been neglecting your physical wellness, your nutrition, and your movement? Okay, maybe you say, you know what? I'm going for a walk tonight, or I'm going back to the gym. Or you know what? I'm gonna grill up some chicken so I have healthy meals for the rest of the week. Or maybe it's your social wellness. You know what? I'm gonna reach out to a couple friends and I'm gonna set up a coffee date for Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday morning. I drink coffee all day, so you know, whatever that is for you, one thing, no matter how big or small, that's once we start taking that action, we start building upon that. And then who can support you or be an accountability partner? I'm a big one for this because often we're like, I'll do that tomorrow and tomorrow or next week, right? It never happens. And so who can be support for you there and kind of keep you accountable to that? Maybe it's somebody with a similar goal. Maybe you're wanting to start that side business. Find somebody who's doing that business, connect with them. Don't get stuck in the dream phase and not move yourself into taking action. So I often have people ask me about balance, and I know it's balance. We all want it. We all want it everywhere, right? But it's a dynamic and ongoing process, and we really just have to strive for our own personal harmony, right? I know for me that my biggest piece is going to be taking care of my physical and emotional wellness. And when I have those, and the spiritual, and when I have those, the rest fall into place. I can give more of myself to my clients and to my friends and family when I've really taken care of my physical, spiritual, and emotional wellness. Be respectful of differences in others, and then carrying forward just best parts of your past, right? You're able to recognize, wow, I'm starting to slip back into old habits. My food, my nutrition has also been a little bit off the last couple of weeks. I think I ate potato chips and granola for dinner a couple nights last week. And then I wondered why I felt like crap the next day at the gym. So yesterday, I meal prepped and I got all my stuff in its individual containers of what I'm eating. So I don't have to think about it. I grab it out of the refrigerator, I heat it up, eat it, and I'm good to go. I would love to stay connected with you. I really, this is my passion. I love just helping support and encourage, inspire other women, and same thing goes back and forth there. So Changing Lanes Fitness and Nutrition, you can find me on Facebook, my website, which probably needs a facelift, but you know, one woman show here. And then of course my email. And then I would like to thank you for attending. I'm going to share with Becky. It's a wellness self-assessment. So you just go through and answer some questions and add some things up. And it's just my gift to you to kind of see where you're at with your wellness. Maybe you're not sure what might be lacking. Many times we start to take the test though and become aware. But I want to share that with you and just thank you so much for attending today. And this is, in my opinion, the first step in being aware of your wellness is attending things like this and knowing that maybe I need to bring some more balance into my life. And yeah, I even ended with 6 minutes. I had a schedule. So I guess, I don't know if we have time to open it to questions, or Becky, I'll let you maybe just kind of take over from here.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions for Cheryl, please feel free to ask either in the chat or just go ahead and turn your mic on and ask away.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, it's Victoria. Sorry, my picture's not up. I don't know what's happening there, but I just want to say to you how beautiful and inspirational your journey has been. And a lot of us can relate to a lot that you shared. And the fact that you've been able to make such a difference with all that you've been through. I certainly can relate to several of the topics. And I just wanted to reach out and say, I think you nailed it. I think you've got it all covered. And when you come to St. Louis, we definitely need to get together for coffee because I'm a native Chicagoan myself and an empty nester. So let us know. And I have a lot of folks that are connected in the yoga community. I live in a place called Defiance, which is now known as wine country. And there's a big investor coming our way to open up the new Napa Valley of the Midwest. But there's a lot of great trails here. There's the Katy Trail. It's a former railroad track with over 250 miles of trails and walking. And there's great coffee shops and places to eat and snack and enjoy. So I just wanted to give you encouragement to help
Thank
lift
you.
your spirits, because I heard you say you're going to be selling your home, that if you do choose to come this way, you will feel the welcomeness of the Midwest and our entire group with open arms. So we look forward to meeting you hopefully in the near future. And thank you again for today.
Thank you so much. I was in St. Louis over Mother's Day, and my daughter and granddaughter and son-in-law, we explored St. Charles, and that's where they're moving. And I loved it. I loved all the little coffee shops and the shops, and I'm here for another year, but I always say things don't happen. There's no accidents, right? And so I think there's a reason why I'm on this call and meeting those of you that are from the St. Louis area. So you never know what next year might bring me.
Well, you know, I'll welcome you. Anyone else?
Just thanks for your story. We've all been through stuff in our lives. I was married to an alcoholic, and fortunately not now, but it can be a tough road. And I think we all have stories that would shock. I know I do, but you know what? One day at a time, and God's always there for us. And the one thing that you find when you do accept Christ is that the devil has you as open territory then. And that's why it gets tough. But
Yeah.
you just keep your faith and you just rock it and move on.
Thank you.
God
Thank you.
bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, and thank you, Victoria. Right now, I just want to, I can't thank you enough, Cheryl, for coming on and sharing your story with us and being so open. Love you. Hope you do come down here. And the next time you're here, let me know.
Yeah, I'm coming in June. I'm coming sometime in June. So that baby keeps growing and I can't even get over her. So I'm coming back.
All right. Well, I hope I get to see you then. And just again, on behalf of Women's Council of Realtors, St. Charles County, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you, ladies, and may you live well. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody.